Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm pleased to present musician and singer-songwriter Steve Lucas, the man behind one of Australia's most legendary rock and roll bands, X. So a little bit about his band X. They were formed in 1977. The original lineup was Ian Rilen, Steve, Ian Cray and Steve Cafero. And I've spoken to a few people who actually saw X, when they played live in Sydney and Melbourne, and they just have fantastic memories of the band. Their performances were often described as chaotic, loud, unpredictable, full of energy. And I think importantly, their impact and influence, is still present to this day. Their debut album was called X Aspirations, and it was produced by legend Lloyd at Trafalgar Studios in Sydney in just 5 hours. It was released in 1980. Now, sadly, Ian Cray of the band had passed away of an overdose at the Bondi Lifesaver, actually. So, yeah, that was sad. Kathy Green, she joined as their drummer in 1984, and in 1985 they recorded the second album, At Home With You. I recommend checking out the Australian Music Vault's long play series. You can find it on YouTube. Ian McFarlane interviews Steve and Kathy, and they just talk about their experiences, and yeah, it's an interesting chat. In 1989, they released X and More, and it wasn't until the 90s when the band reappeared on the scene with Kath Sinadal on drums and Jeff Holmes on guitars. Musician Kim Volkman also began with X in 2006 as their amazing bass player. Not easy after Ian Rilen, of course, but yeah, does a great job. So look, Steve has had countless, solo projects, collaborations. Check out his Bandcamp website, follow him on social media, and there's lots to learn about Steve. And if you can, check out a gig. The anniversary tours pop up every now and again. So if it's anything like the one that I recently saw this year at Petersham Bowling Club, you'll be in for a treat. So.
Well, it should be very simple, and it's not that people out there trying to use you. Talking about your politics, it's all you ever need.
Yep. All right, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good, perfect. Alrighty, okay, so I'll just Steve Lucas, so thanks for joining me on my vlog. Today I wanted to talk about the Paris Theatre, and I know that the band X played at the Paris Theatre all the way back in, it was either 77 or 78. So I just wanted to,
It would have
ask
been
you,
77.
it was 77, yeah.
Yeah.
Your memories of the Paris Theatre, what are your memories of it? I know it was a long time ago.
Well, Paris Theatre was where we did our second X gig.
Mm-hmm.
We did our first one at the Bondi Lifesaver, and then we got a call asking us if we wanted to play at the Paris Theatre with Cold Chisel and Rose Tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. Because we were on first, we were there pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
And all the punks were lining up, and Ian Cray and I went down and opened the side doors to let everyone in for free. I remember doing that.
Wow.
So we got as many in as we could, and then we're playing. The guitarist Ian Cray's amp blew up, which was not very good after about halfway through the set. And Steve Cafero and Ian Rilen, who were kind of veterans by the time we had X together, they'd been in the industry separately for a good 10 years before we came along, and they were freaking out because they thought this is their second gig, these poor young kids, and the amp's blown up. But Ian Cray and I, because we didn't know any better, we just said, oh, bugger it, and lit a couple of cigarettes and sat down on the stage and started talking to the people in the front row.
Oh, wow.
While roadies ran around getting everything working. Then when they said, yeah, it's all good, we hopped up and finished the set. Pretty funny for us. And then Cold Chisel got on stage, and in their second or third song, their guitar amp blew up.
Oh, wow.
But they just thought, oh, we better keep playing. So the drums and bass kept playing, and Jimmy Barnes kept going. There's someone knocking on the kitchen door for about, I don't know, felt like half an hour, but it's probably only 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, in retrospect, I thought we handled it a lot better as newbies than the cultures. Then
Yeah.
Rose Tattoo came on, and it was pretty wild by then. That was my first encounter with the Paris Theatre.
That's so interesting. And in fact, it was a period, I guess, when all three of you, the triple bill, all three of you were relatively new in the scene. And I was just wondering, actually, did you guys share the equipment, like the PA and the road crew and all that?
We shared the PA,
Yeah.
but I think Cultures had been around for a year maybe before us.
Okay.
And Rose Tattoo had already had Bad Boy for Love as the hit single, and Ian had already left Rose Tattoo
Of
and
course.
found
Yeah.
his way to X. So they were pretty known. We were definitely up.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And in fact, I wanted to ask Steve, who actually booked the bands at the Paris, or
I have
even at other
no
venues?
idea. I've been thinking about it since you contacted me, and I really don't know.
Wow. There is a guy that I've read called Ian Hartley, and
Yeah,
I know that he booked some bands, but I'm not sure. And another bloke called Rick Rue, but yeah, I think it
Ian
was just
Hartley.
independent people that did it.
Yeah, Ian Hartley probably would have done a few because he was around. He used to take photos too.
Mm. And I know Johnny
Um,
Allen was the guy that actually kind of sort of, he was the one that started hosting all these new wave concerts.
I can't remember how many shows we did there. I can only remember the first one, but I do recall seeing Rose Tattoo there or
Mm.
going in to see them, ending up in the projection booth with a few people and
Oh, wow.
getting up to mischief.
What other venues around Sydney did X play in those early
We used
days?
to, yeah, we played at the Civic.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I got a message, or I was talking to one of the promoter there a few years back, and he said that unbeknownst to us, when we play there, we'd get a full house.
Mm-hmm.
That we'd actually get 3 full houses in a night, but he'd only pay us for one of them. There's so many people through there. People used to climb up the drain pipes to get in to see us play.
Oh, wow.
The first time we played there, when we'd finished and everyone had gone, the whole floor upstairs looked like it was covered in hail. It was from smashed glasses and stuff, and the publican was having a fit, saying that we'd never ever play there again. And
Oh,
then
dear.
the promoter said, "Do your tills, do your tills, do your tills," and he did his tills and said, "Yeah, can they come back once a week?"
Oh, that's interesting.
So in spite of
Absolutely.
the damage, he was still making a good deal of money.
Yeah. The five albums also, I feel like they still stand the test of time. And even though you've had a couple of different lineups here and there, the fans just, yeah, they still, show up in droves. And
Well, yeah, I mean the lineup's changed because it's had to,
yeah,
but the songs don't change, and that's what people are there for. I think
yeah, yeah,
as much as
interesting.
anything else, well, more than anything else, they all know the words and they all sing along, and it's fun.
I was reading that it was, they use that term punk, but when I was there that night, I felt it was a real rock and roll kind of beat more than a punky, hard, fast sort of sound. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, because we started in '77, everything was called punk.
Yeah.
I always thought we were more avant-garde
Yeah.
and more sort of more rock and roll, definitely, but more an avant-garde rock and roll. I mean, the big sounds were either you were Brits sounding like Sex Pistols, etc., or you were Detroit sounding like Ramones. There
Mm,
wasn't a lot of variety, but we went out of our way not to sound like anyone else, and
yeah.
I think that's why we just kind of got lumped with the generic punk thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we had a lot of attitude. I'll give them, yeah,
Yeah. I was just wondering, can fans kind of expect more of these gigs next year?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I'll probably do a few more.
yeah.
Because I'm getting on a bit, and I should do it while I can, or while I
Yeah.
can do it properly. Because I don't want to ever be standing up there and doing
Mm.
a cabaret version of it.
Also recently saw two musicians that were in the Ted Mulry gang, both Herm and Les from Ted Mulry are in their mid-70s, and
Mm.
honestly, just seeing them on stage and the tightness and just their ability and their competence, it was just really wonderful to see it. So that's why I just think, no matter your age, I think music always just really resonates with people. And
Yeah, I think it depends on the music you play. I saw
yeah,
Phil Manning, and they were doing an acoustic thing with acoustic guitars and mandolin and stuff, and it was beautiful. It was
yes,
sort of folky, country, beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I thought, yeah, that's good. I mean, I would like to be doing something like that if I was 70 plus.
yeah,
Like, well, it's already started because I was doing a bluesy kind of thing, which was a lot of fun. But then the 40th anniversary came up, so
yeah,
I shunted everything
absolutely.
aside to focus on that.
When X wasn't active, did you have solo projects or collaborations with other artists?
I had solo projects. When my daughter was about 5,
Mm-hmm.
I really shut everything down for about 10 years. I didn't want to be an absent father.
Sure.
Good chunk of time when I wasn't doing much music at all, just the
Mm-hmm.
occasional
Yeah.
pop-up type of thing, co-directing a gallery in Sydney at the time, and that became my gig when we had new shows on. They'd be themed, and it went really well. We used to get like double-page spreads in the morning papers and stuff like that. We had
Yeah.
Japanese film crews coming over and broadcasting from the gallery. It was
Mm-hmm.
really good. And then when my daughter hit 15, and I thought, well, I can loosen up again, I
Yeah.
started getting back into it.
The music industry is kind of notorious for not really paying well, especially in regards to albums. I find a lot of bands these days really get a lot of their income from touring and merchandise.
Well, touring was always where you got your money from.
Yeah.
Merchandise, not so much. That came later. Even when you're touring and stuff and getting money and selling things, it just evaporates really quickly.
Yeah.
It's not the lifestyle for a family man. And
Yeah, yeah,
I made that conscious choice.
yeah.
Even before my daughter was born, Ian and Kathy would sometimes say, "Let's go and live overseas for 3 to 6 months,"
Mm,
and then come back and be heroes. And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. If people are going to like us, they're going to have to like us for what we are, not
yeah,
because we went away and pretended to come back as something else. I mean, everyone was doing it. What difference does it make if you go to London or for
yeah,
3 months? I mean, so what? But it was the thing that people did. But there were so many places to play around Sydney, like, the Paris Theatre, there was the Civic, there was the Stage Door Tavern, which was fantastic. That was a
yeah,
great
yeah.
venue.
And
That was
French's?
French's. That was a bit more seedy, but Stage Door
Yeah,
was a lot bigger. That
yeah,
was, and over in Bondi, there was the Lifesaver, there was Blondies, there was
yeah.
X was banned from 32 venues in Sydney. So then we started hiring out town halls and running our own gigs.
Oh, wow.
And then we're making enough for people to sort of go, oh, well, we better have them back in again so we can have some of the money too.
Yeah,
We were selling beer there. And so we were very entrepreneurial in our
yeah,
underground way, like the newspaper posters
yeah,
all over Sydney. Nothing like us. And I don't say that with a massive ego. There really wasn't anyone doing what we were doing.
yeah,
Max was always very sincere, and there was very no frills.
yeah.
I suppose that lasts because there's no particular image to adhere to or to
Mm,
uphold. We were just rambunctious.
yeah,
A lot of it was hit and miss. We had some tragedies. We had some wins.
yeah.
Oh, and I just saw another really good venue that was around Sydney, the Trade Union Club.
Yes, yes.
Like 3 or 4 floors.
Three levels, yeah.
Yeah, insane. I mean, Sydney was so alive.
It
We
really
didn't get down.
was.
We didn't get to Melbourne until '82. Might have been '81 we went down the first time.
Yeah.
But that's like 3 or 4 years after we came into existence.
Yeah. What, in your opinion, do you think might be a big contributing factor to why a lot of venues, both in Melbourne and Sydney, have closed?
Sydney way more than Melbourne, but
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to answer that one.
Mm,
First of all, there was the fire restrictions and the
yeah.
fire exits, and only so many people per square metre. They changed the blood level for drink driving.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
that had a factor.
Yeah.
The poker machines were the real cancer.
Yeah.
people started getting VCRs and entertaining themselves at home. It was the beginning of the rot. But I
Yeah.
mean, under that, I also think the reason for the fire restrictions and stuff, part of it was for a criminal element, not so much of the music, but around the cross and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to get rid of a few people, so that helped with that. A loose connection between organised crime and the underground music scene was so much black money,
Yeah.
so much passing through hands unaccounted for.
Mm-hmm.
I think various state governments were getting a bit sick of missing out on it. So the poker machines were a way they could get rid of the live music and bring in a revenue stream that pleased the pubs and clubs, because once they're installed, they run themselves.
Yeah.
And people just sit there and feed them. They don't need entertainment,
Yeah. And it's quick money.
It's easy money. It's quick,
Yeah.
anti-social, anti-cultural, but
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
5 cents? A goddamn nickel? Hey, big spenders.
Yeah, it's weird because, I've been to Las Vegas. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife and I pulled into Las Vegas and went to fill up the petrol. And while we're standing there by the petrol pump, there were slot machines there. You could play while you're pumping gas.
You're kidding.
You go, no, I'm not kidding. You go into a chemist and there'd be slot machines in the foyer of the
Oh,
chemist or
wow.
pharmacy. They were everywhere, but I mean, they still have a lot of entertainment there,
Yeah.
so it could have coexisted. And in a lot of ways, the revenue from the poker machines really could have gone into supporting live bands and music. But I think the overall consensus was, well, but why bother? We don't need them.
Yeah. It's
And
so
and that
strange.
was it. And over the years, there's been other things. They had curfews in parts of Sydney about music and stuff. See, Melbourne doesn't have the poker machine addiction.
Yeah, because I think
We
Melbourne people had pokies come in later. We had New South Wales had pokies earlier.
They were there in the early '80s.
Yeah.
Coming in. See, I mean, the trade union club had poker machines, but they really did push live music.
I'm not going out as often as I used to, but I do feel that there is still a pretty healthy scene at the moment. What do you reckon about the live music scene? Do you actually go and see any bands or?
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't actually as we get older.
Late
Mm.
2009, I had a pretty serious spinal trauma thing.
Mm-hmm.
I nearly lost the use of both my legs.
Oh dear.
It came good, but after that, standing up for too long, it
Yeah.
just becomes really painful. And got into the habit of not going out. I mean, if someone told me someone was really, really good,
Mm.
then I go and check it out to see if they lived up to
Yeah.
the rep. I used to love it, but it was different, and especially after COVID. I mean, everyone got used to staying at home.
I do think that has affected a lot of people where that, even young kids today, I feel nearly as much as what I used to in my 20s, but I do
Right.
believe the culture was different then. And
Look, yeah, I mean, the amount of people that come up to me and they say, "Oh, I first saw X when I was 14 or 15 or 16," because they jump out the back window and, the parents think they're asleep and they'd go off to a venue, especially girls, because they could make themselves look older
yeah,
easier than boys. Because there was nothing else to do. There was no TV,
yeah,
there were no computer games, there wasn't anything to do except sneak out
yeah,
and go wild. And they're
yeah,
like, brilliant. Well, I mean, what a time to be alive. But now, long before they could get the itch to go out, they've already slaved to a tablet or a phone or,
yeah, kind of aren't. And I think the demographics also, in particular in Sydney, can contribute to that because there are a lot more different kind of cultural groups that
well,
aren't
yeah,
interested in rock and roll.
yeah, but they're a lot more extreme. Like they're either a lot more conservative and they don't drink much, which
Yeah,
doesn't do the bars any good. It doesn't help them afford to pay for bands. But apart from that conservative side, the other side's like Troppo.
yeah.
the stuff they smoke these days would have put me in the grave, you know, like. Oh, and your acid's pretty hit with some of the kids and stuff. I just think, you know, fine, whatever, you
Yeah.
know.
I know that what we call that golden era, I I just feel as though that it's not going to be something that's going to happen again.
Oh no,
Um,
no, and
yeah.
the big reason why I believe is when we were young and part of a counterculture,
Mm,
it was because we rejected culture.
yeah.
We didn't want to be accepted into the mainstream culture. We wanted to stand there with the middle finger up and
Mm,
defy, defy, defy. I'm
yeah.
not going to compromise. I'm not going to be part of your system. All the misfits were the musicians, artists,
Mm,
wannabe filmmakers, gay people,
yeah.
and drugs, and that was it. We didn't want to be accepted,
Yeah.
but then you take it to now where it's we demand to be accepted. We demand to be, and it's like, where's the fun in that?
That's really true. That's
I
actually
mean, the
really
whole
true.
point was rebelling and saying, get fucked. It's not rebelling, going, I'm going to rebel. I remember now, take me in and treat me as
Mm.
an equal. I mean, that's just bullshit
I
as
feel
far
as
as
though
I'm.
there aren't any rebels like there were after the 50s and 60s and 70s, like that whole, what you were saying then. I feel as though, I don't know, unless it's kind of, climate change or something like that.
Depending on who you talk to, it's a construct or it's a political thing or I don't know.
Mm,
But
yeah.
it's definitely not the same.
No.
These days, kids feel like they're rebelling if they refuse to use someone's adopted pronoun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, well, you know, I suppose it's rebelling against something, but
Yeah.
it's not the same. It's not the same as saying, you know, I would rather die than be a part of your frigging system, you know?
Yeah.
The bonds that we formed, you know, the whole relation between music, art, and movies, stage and stuff was a lot tighter.
Yes. I think the creativity isn't what it used to be, and the camaraderie between those different people.
You needed people.
Yeah.
Now you got ChatGP and God knows what else, and you can write prompts into a thing and it will spit out whatever you want it to spit out. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's great for people who are maybe non-creative, but
Yeah.
pissing on the fire for anyone who has what I would call a genuine creativity.
It does feel like a completely different world, and even with Spotify and all that, I
Yeah,
kind of miss the days of just buying albums and putting them on and taking my time
yeah,
with them.
yeah, yeah,
These
yeah,
days it feels like everyone's just singles. It's
yeah.
kind of like singles now.
Well, you know, you used to release a single to sell an album,
Yeah,
which was something physical you could buy, but
yeah.
these days, really, an albums are just singles, you know.
It feels
It's
disposable.
Oh, and that reminds me, talking about that, there's the other contributing factor to the death of Sydney was when Double J became Triple J and went
Oh,
national.
yes.
That
Yeah.
was that was the final blow. There was no one left really to support the local scene, and
Yes.
FBI didn't pick up what Double J lost. You know, the other ones like 3CR or 2CR
And I
was an
think that's where
idiot.
Melbourne kind of trumped on Sydney because you guys had more local radio, community radio.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Triple R's huge, and
Yeah.
PBS is, you know, like regional community
Mm.
stations. It's more like I imagine the American college circuit is,
Yes.
but it's
Yes.
limited to Victoria,
Yeah.
you know, and Sydney just doesn't seem to have it.
No. And it's funny because I feel as though once Sydney kind of could be called the capital sort of city.
It's really healthy like that.
But I do feel that, I don't know, it feels like Melbourne kind of took over.
I know the rivalry between who was the music capital was always there from the moment I was
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
When we came down in '81, I think Melbourne just blew me away. I
Yeah.
thought Sydney
Yeah.
was really good, but Melbourne just trumped it. I didn't have to think twice about it. There's so many
Yeah.
more clubs, and
You could feel it.
the people were just more engaging and more friendly and more accepting and more welcoming. Sydney was very territorial.
And arrogant.
You know,
I feel
if
that.
you were an inner city band, God help you if you tried to get into the northern beaches.
Yeah.
God help you if you tried to go too far west.
That's so true.
It was very, very. territorial.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Very interesting. And
Yeah, or
even,
you don't want to go
you
over the
guys,
harbour. You don't want to cross over the harbour.
yeah, when you guys had the tote campaign to save the tote,
Yeah.
I just don't think that that would ever happen in Sydney, which is quite
No.
sad.
Sydney couldn't give a fuck.
No,
Uh, no.
it's very interesting. It's just an interesting perspective of,
Well,
I mean, I'm from Sydney, but I do feel as though Melbourne has more of a heart towards saving a venue like the Tote, whereas we had the Annandale.
and the Hope Town, but they
Yeah,
they
but
were they were
nobody
beleaguered
nobody
by
bothered.
councils. Yeah, the councils were behind those things.
Yeah,
It turned
yeah,
out it's sad all that, but what can you do? I think Sydney's weakness was even in the '60s. Sydney was being kind of deprogrammed from any kind of heritage stuff.
mm,
Like all the squats that were down where all the big hotels are now on towards the quay. That
yes,
used to be like this massive squat thing, and then they burned it to the ground one night. They totally revamped Circular Quay. All the side shows and things that were on the Sydney side
yeah,
were just gone
and
one
it's
day. Sydney was being stripped and gutted long before anything like that started happening down here in Melbourne.
oh wow, yeah, the gentrification. I think. I mean,
Yeah,
even King's Cross. You wouldn't
you
recognise
know,
it now. As long as we've still got a few venues, I know in Sydney, the inner west has kind of taken over from the Surrey Hills inner city area at Petersham, that kind of
yeah,
area. So
yeah.
Petersham, Marrickville.
We were doing gigs in. We lived in Balmain. We lived in the Cross. We lived in Darlinghurst. We lived in the where everything was happening.
Yeah,
It's a bit different. I mean, now Marrickville's a bit of a hub, but it's not got the same vibe as old school Rosedale and
yeah, I
Balmain or
agree,
the Cross.
actually. Yeah, no, I
It's
agree.
still pretty soft.
Finally, Steve, I wanted to ask you, what was Ian Rilen like as a bloke? Him and Lobby Lloyd are two guys I wish I could have met.
Depends on who you're talking to and what day of the week it was. The legend has it that Paul Kelly wrote "What Makes a Nice Guy Turns So Mean" about Ian,
Oh, wow.
because Ian could be the sweetest guy you'd ever met,
Yeah.
really funny, charming, engaging, and then he could turn around, have one drink too many, and be. It was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde,
Oh, wow.
whereas Lobby was just a consistent fucking maniac.
Oh, was he? Yeah. Because I met his wife actually at Petersham at the gig. I met
Yeah,
his
Deb's
wife.
lovely. He was probably like genius level IQ, raconteur in the old meaning. You have dinner at Lobby's place, and he would just hold court. He'd talk about anything you wanted to talk about and know everything about it you could possibly know and
Oh,
be
wow.
so hysterically funny at the same time. But Lobby and Ian were both devious too when
Yeah.
it came to contracts and stuff like that. They were, I could tell you horror stories. People keep asking me to write a memoir. I got offered a deal from a publishing company to write a memoir, and I just said, look, if I want to continue to live in Australia, I can't do it. Because I'd have to be honest.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's bad enough what I know about other people, but what I know about myself, there's the one horror story at the Paris Theatre in the projection room when some guy gave Ian Ryland and Ian Cray a hit, and they both OD'd, and he ran away and left me in the projection booth with the two of them. I was going
Oh,
from one to the other,
no.
giving mouth to mouth and CPR
Oh, no.
until, that was diabolical.
It's a fine line, isn't it?
It is. And, some people go, oh, that's so rock and roll. But I just think, no, it's tragic and I
Mm,
wouldn't want to influence anyone.
yeah.
I was offered a part in a movie, an ex's music in it, but they wanted me to have a hit of heroin and
Oh,
inject it into
wow.
me. And I went, I'm not going to be filmed doing that. And they go, why
Yeah.
not? It's really cool. And I'm going, no. And so they took all our music out of the film and told us to get fucked.
Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
There is one aspect of this new kind of generation of kids that I do like. I'm not seeing a lot of that culture of yobbo drunkenness that was around in the 80s. I saw a lot of it, and we're all guilty of drinking too much and
Yeah.
drugs and this and that, but I just think it was over the top in the
Oh, it was.
yeah.
Well, Degenerate Boy, that X song.
Yeah, yeah.
Lean started writing it, but I finished it off as a critique on that kind of behaviour.
Oh, okay, yep.
But then when we'd be playing it, everyone seemed to be taking it as a positive statement, and
Yeah.
it was encouraging to do it more. So for a while there, I refused to play it. And then I thought, well, I'm just being stupid. It was a satire. I will continue to do it as a
Yeah.
satire.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
people wanted to see what, they can read whatever they want to into it.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Yeah. Look, I
yeah.
better wrap it up because I think it's 47 minutes on here.
Sorry about that.
But no, not at all, Steve. It's been lovely. Thank you so much. It's been really cool chatting to you.
Mhm.
And
Likewise.
hopefully, I'll just stop this recording. Hang on a sec.
I ain't got no money, can't pay no rent. Last week's dough check, it's already spent. I ain't got no money, I ain't got a cent. Last week's dough check, up my arm it went. I ain't got no money, I can't pay no rent. Last week's dough check, up my arm it went. Well, I'm a dirty, dirty boy. I ain't got no woman, I live in a run. I hang around boys and shut up the sluts. I ain't got no reason, I need no excuse. I'm just victim of a lot of self-abuse. I ain't got no money, I ain't give a stuff. Give me a lot of drugs, don't you know that I can't get enough? Well, I don't ride in no flash car, I ride on a bus. You can stick your Mercedes right up your arse.